Clover Etiquette. I am your host, Mr. James Ivan Rexwinkle. Today I'm very pleased to have two very important guests with me today to help us in our show. To introduce first Miss Prim and Proper, Donna Patterson. Donna, very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Rexwinkle.
And our second guest is ridiculously crude, Mr.
Jimmy Boy, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clovis. Always entertaining. If you two would please like to have a seat. We're glad that you all have had the chance to join us today, and we would like to begin our show by covering a few of the essentials that you might need when going to a conference, banquet, or formal meal. To begin our program, we would like...
Meals are my specialty.
Yes, we found that out last year, Mr. Clovis. To begin our program, though, we would like to start with a question from one of our viewers. And that viewer is Mr. Billy from Billings, New Mexico. His question is, what is the proper introduction and handshake when introducing yourself to a new crowd? Now, I thought that our video gave a very good example of the right way and the wrong way of greeting someone. Miss Patterson, can you please give us a little more information about this topic?
I would love to. When making your introduction, make sure you do your handshake very firm and deliberate. Also, introduce yourself with confidence. No slouching. Remember, you can never change a first impression.
Thank you, Miss Patterson. Mr. Clovis,
That's right. First impression, you get one shot, buddy. Billy, this is how you do it. You put on a gun show when you got a loaded gun. Don't screw up your first chance to make a first intimidation, is what I always say.
Mr. Clovis, intimidation?
Intimidation, baby, that's what I'm speaking about.
It's called an introduction, sir.
Same thing where I come from.
Obviously, we showed you the right way and the wrong way. Let's move on to our next question, and from another one of our viewers, Miss Sally from New Delhi. And her question is, posture. How should a person sit while at the table at their banquet meal? Mr. Clovis, we'll start with you.
Sally, just get comfortable. Just sit there, get an elbow in each right here. Lean out. Protect your food at all times. That's the main thing about intimidation. You got to make sure and mark your territory clear, just like a dog.
Again, Mr. Clovis, another poor example. Miss Patterson, please.
Yes.
Starting to tick me off.
When talking about posture, you want to make sure that you're sitting up straight, but not stiff. Have your back slightly against your chair. Keep your elbows off the table, Mr. Clovis. And no tipping your chair back. That is considered very unsafe.
Let's move on to attire. With attire is a very important thing to understand when going to a formal meal. And this question comes from Emily from England, where we know how you're supposed to dress. Would you like to answer this question, Miss Patterson, or should I let Mr. Clovis begin?
I think I should probably start this question.
Because I've got the
Meaning
final
how he's
answer.
dressed.
I agree. So, would you please tell us a little bit about attire?
I would love to. Simply, a lot of times you can get an idea of how you should dress upon the invitation. If it's a formal occasion, make sure that you are dressed to impress. Or, if it's a business occasion, make sure that you are in the proper business attire. Always make sure that it's clean, pressed, and tasteful.
Thank you very much. This should be entertaining, Mr. Clovis.
Entertaining and informative. This is right down in my wheelhouse. Of course, you just keep it simple, you stupid people. First of all, headgear. Don't ever wear your hat in some funky looking hick style. Always have it looking where you're presentable, like I'm wearing it now, or prefer it in the eating mode is spun around like this, where you don't get any food on the bill of your cap or the logo of your favorite merchandise. So, keep with the classics. Carhartt, Wrangler, Levi, Mossy Oak, whatever. Don't go with one of those frou-frou Italian names that no one can say. Like, take what I'm wearing right here. Your classic Carhartt bib overall and a brown duck. You want to feel that?
No, sir.
You can't go wrong with the classics. And I've accentuated it with this lovely gray tunic that I made myself. I cut the sleeves right off. It's not that hard to do with a little training. And I love the way it sets off my farmer's tan. Wouldn't you agree, Miss Donna?
I think I'll pass.
Always entertaining, Mr. Clovis. Our next question comes from Miss Sally from Texas. And her question has to do with napkins. And where, oh where, does the napkin go? Mr. Clovis, would you like to answer this question?
This is easy as falling off a log. Of course it goes right in your hands to wipe the grease off from working on the pickup truck that's jacked up in your yard. You get it all off. It's best to use a white one, that way you can tell you're getting lots of grease on it. Make sure it's working. And then just stick it right wherever you want it.
Thank you, Mr. Clovis.
You're welcome.
Miss Patterson, please tell these good people the correct way.
When you sit down at the table, it is always proper to gently take your napkin and place it on your lap. When you are finished with your plate or napkin, you can simply take it and lay it to the left side of your plate. Or, if for any reason you need to leave during the dinner, simply place your napkin on your chair. That lets your servers know that you plan on coming right back. Also, while eating, blot your mouth. Do not wipe. It is not a washcloth.
Coming from Larry in Leaping Lizards, Alaska. His question is, when is the proper time to begin eating once you have received your meal? Now, I have two very nice...
Larry, it's as easy as ABC. Seafood and you eat it. And all there is to that. Don't worry about it. Just see it, eat it. Until you can't see it no more.
Always something interesting with you, isn't it, Mr. Clovis?
Just the facts, man.
Just the facts. Yes, Miss Patterson, again we've seen the wrong way. Can you please enlighten us on the correct way?
Yes, I can. When your table is being served, you should always wait until the entire table is served before you start eating.
And what if they're faster eaters than you are? What do you do then, sister?
Sir, please.
Thank you. When
You
everybody
don't get
has...
no dessert, that's what happens.
Mr. Clovis!
Don't call me Mr.
You're interrupting the teaching time.
I'm on the roll. Go ahead.
I'm trying.
Try harder.
You should always wait until everybody at your table has been served. If you're sitting at a family-style banquet where you have large tables, wait until your hostess signals that it's okay
I
to
prefer
start.
Little Debbie's.
Mr. Clovis.
To carry on this same subject, I would like to ask you a question about refusing a dish. You know, sometimes you're served a dish that maybe doesn't suit what you want, Miss Patterson. So, could you tell our listeners and our watchers maybe the correct way in refusing that dish?
I can. If you're sitting in a family style, of course, it is probably being passed to you. If it's something that you do not like, or maybe you're allergic to it, simply say no thank you and pass it on. Now, if it is already on your plate, simply leave it alone. Don't draw attention to it. Don't say ew or gross. Just leave it on your plate.
Thank you very much. Now,
Once again, let me get my 2 bits in here, buddy. Once again, Mrs. Patterson is making it way too complicated. Why do you think God made dogs under the table? If you don't like it, you just stick it under the table a second.
Oh, no, Mr.
And it's gone. You don't got to worry about it or offend anybody. Let the dogs eat it.
Please, if you want to refuse your dish, please just give it to your hostess and they can remove it properly.
I don't like Hostess, I said. I prefer Little Debbie's.
A hostess is a real person, Mr. Clovis.
They don't make hostess cupcakes out of people.
Again, we're working with what we have. There's a couple other questions that I think that are extremely good and are maybe our top 3 questions of the day. And I'd like to start with the first one, which comes from Ashley in Alabama. Her question is what is with all the silverware around my plate? What am I supposed to do with all of this silverware?
The simple rule of thumb is work from the outside in towards your plate. Sometimes there's several silverware and it can be intimidating. But always remember, if you work from the outside in, you'll be correct.
Paid attention, didn't you watch last year? We went over this once. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Strategically place your utensils around your plate so that as you're gathered over your plate consuming it, you can have a fork to protect your food from your family members and predators within easy reach. That's all there is to it, Ashley. Protect your food.
Mr. Clovis, you are correct when you say you said that same message last year. Unfortunately for you,
it's timeless.
The message is still wrong. Always entertaining, Mr. Clovis. Now to probably the best question that I've seen from our callers today, and that is about cell phone etiquette. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's when people start using their cell phone at the table. There's a time and a... Mr. Clovis!
Wait,
whatever...
I gotta take this. It's my taxidermist.
Oh, you're going to take it, all right? I've had it!
As you can tell, you should never answer your phone during a dinner. Never take a call, text, or send an email during dinner. If you must, take a call, politely excuse yourself from the table.
I think that if we will now politely take ourselves away. I apologize about that outburst, Mrs. Patterson, but I do believe that we have removed the problem. I would now like for you to do a little bit about the do's and don'ts of dining. Thank you.
I would love to. Simple do's and don'ts. Always say please and thank you. You can never say it often enough, and there's never a wrong time to say that. Do not over-season your food. Taste it first, and then add salt and pepper as needed. Don't encircle your arm around your plate. Simply maintain your proper posture by sitting up and eat correctly. Don't ever put liquid into a mouth that already has food in it. Chew your food and swallow, and then take a drink. And do not talk with your mouth full. When cutting your food, cut into small pieces, a few pieces at a time. And always make sure that they're not too big to handle. Do not leave the spoon in the glass as you're adding sugar to tea. It makes it very easy to spill. Simply remove your spoon and place it on your plate. You never want to put a dirty spoon, fork, or knife onto a nice, clean tablecloth. Eat quietly, don't chew with your mouth open, and don't smack your food. When you're talking at the dinner table, don't swing food on your fork. Somebody might get lettuce in their hair. Remember, always blot, never wipe with your napkin. And always keep dinner conversation polite. When you're at a 4-H function, you can always talk about your projects and your citizenship projects, as well as your leadership projects. And don't forget to tell them about Leadership Rocks. Thank you.